Welcome to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm continuing in this video my Larry Niven series, which I haven't done a whole lot of yet. I'm only up to his fourth published story, which is a story titled One Face. And One Face is a novelette-length story, so a little longer than a short story, but not like a book. It was published in Galaxy magazine in the June 1965 issue, which I happen to have a copy of here. And it's where I read it. And it's the cover story. The illustration on the cover is for One Face. Going into darkness. I'll put it, as usual, I'll put it up. The illustration on the cover is for One Face, and it's by an illustrator named Schelling. I believe it was George Schelling, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, cover story. His fourth published work, and he's got the cover of Galaxy magazine, no less. Pretty exciting. And not a horrible illustration, just not the best. Schelling is not Don Davis or Rick Sternbach, who are both artists who painted similar subject matter, but did a way, way better job of it, in my opinion. You can also find One Face in Larry Niven's collection Convergence series, which was published in the late 1970s and pulled together a lot of his unpublished stories. They weren't series stories. And One Face has an interesting situation that Niven himself says it is not a known space story. And yet there's references in the story to Jinx and We Made It and the ARM police force, and even the Pearson's puppeteers are mentioned in this story. So what Niven said is he was formulating his ideas for known space, but he had work to do before he arrived at it when he wrote One Face. So he does not consider One Face really a part of the known space series, of the known space universe. But I think it could be, because of how many things from the known space stories are mentioned in this story. So it was definitely a formative work. And hey, it's his fourth published work. It's very early in his career. It's understandable that he's still formulating these ideas towards One Space. The synopsis of the story: you have a starship called Hogan's Goat. Don't know why. It has a faster than light drive, and it comes out of the faster than light drive around a moving rock that damages both the drive and the computer. In other words, there's this like small asteroid or meteor moving through space, and right when they come out of their FTL drive, the rock is where their ship materializes, and the rock continues through, and it damages a lot of their ship. What they find out then is that this accident, when they were coming out of the FTL drive, it brought them back into normal space and in the solar system, but billions of years into the future. Takes them a little bit to figure this out, but they figure it out, and they find Earth. But Mercury and Venus are engulfed by the sun, so the Earth is the closest planet to the sun, and the Earth now has its face, one face, which is where the title comes from. One side of the Earth is permanently facing the sun as the Earth orbits. When you have a situation like that, the planet does rotate, but its rotation around its axis is exactly the same as its orbit around the sun, so that the same side of the planet always faces the sun. What you get with that, one side is just super, super hot, and the other side never gets any light or anything. It's super, super cold, and you have this twilight area where the temperature is actually reasonable and you could visit and explore a little bit. So they find this out, and of course they're damaged, and they need to try and repair things. And well, they need a place to live because they're billions of years into the future. They're not going to go back to the Earth they know unless they figure out exactly how to reproduce the accident in reverse to send them back, which they probably don't have the ability to do. So this is the problem posed to them, and they come up with a solution. And it's a very interesting story. It is an early work, so it's not one of Niven's best stories as far as construction, as far as the more technical aspect of writing. It's a little clunky feeling when you're reading it, but it still is a very good story. And actually, I had very much Hal Clement vibes reading this story because of the world building and the unique physics of the solution they come up with. That was something that you would find in a Hal Clement story. Though I think Hal Clement would have written it a little bit better, but hey, Niven becomes an excellent, excellent writer. It's just very early. So the writing is kind of simple, and the characterization is not very deep. It's an idea story. It's focused on the ideas. The characters are just moving through it, so you don't get into a lot of character background or anything. And it's kind of strange that this story wasn't sold to Astounding. This is exactly like I say, it's very reminiscent of Golden Age science fiction, the kind of stuff Hal Clement wrote in the 1940s, and other types of the hard science fiction stories that John Campbell basically pushed on the science fiction field in the 1940s. So this really would have fit very well into Analog in 1965. It was Astounding was renamed Analog, but it didn't. I mean, Niven did have already a pretty good relationship with the Galaxy group of magazines, Galaxy If and Worlds of Tomorrow. And so he was selling to those magazines before this, and so it does make sense that he would sell this to Galaxy, but it still does feel very much like a John Campbell golden age science fiction story. So if you love Larry Niven, if you love golden age science fiction, if you love the thought variant style science fiction, if you love Hal Clement, I think this story is for you. Definitely. It's a very good story. I'm not going to put it all the way up to top tail, but it's definitely recommended. It's good science fiction, just not great science fiction, and not to the contemporary reader. I think the story will feel a little bit clunky, but not bad. Not bad at all. And definitely, like I say, the references to Jinx and We Made It, and the Arm and Pearson's Puppeteers. For the Larry Niven fan, this is a must-read story. So, have you read One Face? If so, tell me what you thought of it in the comments. Don't spoil the end of the story, but otherwise, talk about it and tell me what you thought of One Face. This issue of Galaxy Magazine, which is available online as a PDF for free. You can download it and read it. Look for a used paperback of Convergent Series. It's the title of a short story collection. It's been published in a number of editions, never published in hardcover, though, always paperback. And so, Convergent Series it doesn't have... Niven's really famous stories like Neutron Star and stuff like that. So it's kind of a lesser collection of his stories in the grand scheme of things. But that only means you can pick it up for less money in really good condition. I bought it brand new when it was published in, I believe, 1979. Yeah, March of 1979, a brand new Del Rey paperback. That's how I bought it, and I still have that copy. So it's not that difficult to find One Face and read it. And it'll be well worth your time or the little bit of money that it'll cost you to get a used copy of Convergence Series. Convergence Series might be available as an ebook also. I would look for that if you're into ebooks. So you got options. And anyway, as I was saying, leave your comments about One Face or Larry Niven. And otherwise, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel if you're not already, and definitely come on back for more. I'm going to continue reading Larry Niven alpha or in order of publication, his entire bibliography, or at least everything I can get my hands on. And so far it's been pretty easy. I haven't been unable to get a hold of any of Niven's stories. Anyway, the next story is a short story called Becalmed in Hell. I will read and report on that not too long from now. And until then, there's lots of other great stories and authors that I'll be talking about. Lots of Stephen King because I'm going through his new collection, You Like It Darker, as well as a lot of the classic science fiction authors. And Emily will be joining me for some interesting books as well coming up. So come on back and watch all of those.